Have you ever been on a plane, looked out the window, and just wondered how the heck this massive metal tube is actually staying in the air? Well, it turns out the explanation most of us learned is one of the biggest, most persistent myths in science. The answer you think you know, it's probably not the whole story.
I mean, really, let's dive into that for a second. We're talking about a machine, like a Boeing 747, that can weigh over 700,000 pounds. How does something that heavy just fly? It seems to defy gravity. It's a truly mind-bending physics problem when you stop and think about it.
And the simple answer you'll hear is, of course, aerodynamic lift. But here's the kicker, the most common explanation for how that lift is actually generated, the one they taught us in school, isn't just a little bit off, it's fundamentally flawed. So let's start by clearing the air, so to speak, and tackle the most popular myth out there. We'll call this myth number 1, the longer path theory. I guarantee you've heard this one. It's called the equal transit time theory. The whole idea is that because a wing is curved on top, the air has a longer path to travel. So in order to meet up with the air that went underneath, it has to speed up. Faster air means lower pressure, and bam, you've got lift. Sounds plausible, right? Well, here's where the whole thing just completely falls apart. The myth is built on this idea that the air particles that split at the front of the wing have to meet up again at the back. But why? As one physicist put it, they're not living beings with an appointment to keep. And when you actually test this in a wind tunnel, the air on top moves so much faster that it gets to the back of the wing way, way before the air from the bottom does. The whole equal time idea is a complete fiction.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. NASA is super clear on this. They've put out statements saying that, yeah, a lot of the theories you find in encyclopedias and even some textbooks are just flat out wrong. And really, when NASA tells you the textbook is wrong, you listen. Besides, the theory has these huge, gaping, logical holes. I mean, if it were true, how could a fighter jet with perfectly symmetric wings, no longer path on top, generate lift? Or how could a plane fly upside down when the longer path is suddenly on the bottom, pushing it down? And it has absolutely no explanation for how a simple paper airplane, which is just a flat plate, can fly at all. All right, so the longer path theory is a bust. What about the other big explanation you hear? Let's move on to myth number 2, the skipping stone theory. Now, this one feels way more intuitive, right? It's basically Newton's third law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. The idea is that the wing is just tilted up a little, and it pushes the air down from its bottom surface, kind of like a stone skipping across water. That downward push on the air creates an upward push on the wing. Simple. And you know what? There's a big grain of truth to this one. Pushing air down is absolutely essential, but it's just not the whole story. It's a seriously incomplete picture because it ignores the single most important part of the whole process. So what's it missing? The top surface of the wing. The skipping stone idea completely forgets that most of the work of turning the air downwards happens over the top of the wing, not the bottom. And it can't explain how a properly shaped, curved wing can generate lift even when it's flying perfectly level with a 0-degree angle of attack. Okay, so we've thrown out the myths. Let's build the real explanation from the ground up. It all boils down to 2 ideas that are totally connected: turning the air and changing the pressure. Let's start with the absolute, most basic truth of it all. The one and only fundamental job of a wing is to turn a huge amount of air so that it flows downwards. Everything else, and I mean everything, follows from that one simple action. But okay, how does turning air downwards create an upward force? Well, it comes down to a really cool fundamental principle of physics. Anytime a fluid, like air, follows a curved path, the pressure on the inside of that curve gets lower, and the pressure on the outside gets higher. And this is exactly what's happening on an airplane wing. The air flowing over the top is guided into this long, gentle curve. That makes it the inside of the curve, creating a big zone of low pressure above the wing. Meanwhile, the air on the bottom is flowing in a much straighter line, which results in higher pressure. And that difference, high pressure below, low pressure above, creates a net upward push. So we've got turning air, which feels like Newton's laws, and we've got pressure differences, which sounds like Bernoulli's principle. How do they actually fit together? This is where we get to what you could call the unified theory of lift.
See, for a long, long time, this was framed as a big debate, a battle even. Was it Bernoulli's pressure ideas that created lift, or was it Newton's action-reaction laws? People argued that it had to be one or the other.
But the truth, confirmed by all of modern aerodynamics, is that it was never a competition. It's not one or the other, it's both. It's Bernoulli and Newton. They are two different but totally essential ways of describing the exact same event. So the crucial thing to get is that this is a relationship of mutual interaction. It's not like one thing happens, then the next. The wing turning the air is what creates the pressure difference. And that pressure difference is what allows the air to stay stuck to the wing and follow that curved path. They're locked together, happening at the exact same instant. Let's just walk through that cycle. Step 1. The wing's shape and angle force the air to curve down. Step 2. That curve instantly creates low pressure above and high pressure below. Step 3. That pressure difference pushes the wing up. That's our lift. And finally, step 4. That upward lift force is the perfect, equal, and opposite Newtonian reaction to the wing pushing all that air down. See? It's a complete self-reinforcing loop. This is the perfect way to think about it. You have two perspectives on one single force. Newton's laws describe the action on the air. What is the wing doing to the air? It's pushing it down. Bernoulli's principle describes the force on the wing. What is the air doing to the wing? It's creating a pressure difference that pushes it up. They're just two sides of the very same coin. So let's just lock in the key takeaways here. Lift is all about turning air downwards. That turning action creates pressure differences, low on top, high on the bottom. That pressure difference is what creates the upward force. The old longer path and skipping stone myths, they're incomplete at best. And most importantly, Newton and Bernoulli are not enemies. They are partners in making flight possible. Which really leaves us with one final, fascinating question. For aeronautical engineers, the physics of lift is totally settled science. So, why did the myths stick around so stubbornly in our culture and our classrooms? I guess it just goes to show how beautifully complex and sometimes counterintuitive the physics of our everyday world can be.